Well, I'd like to start about talking about your childhood. Your family really seemed to encourage individual expression, and this was apparently something very, very important to you, to your family. Tell me a little bit about that. It seemed like you were encouraged to express yourself artistically as kids.
Yeah. Actually, our family is come from very educated and academic for more than three generations. And our grandfather, and he was the one of the very famous scholar in Qing Dynasty, and he published many books. You can find in the Beijing Library or something. And then our grandfather, he's the founder for the university in southern China. That's in the early time. And the grandmother, she found the first women's college in southern China. So we come from this kind of family. And our father,
right.
When he was very young, in his 30s, he's become the dean in the university in China. And our mother is professor for literature. So we come from this kind of family. It's very educated and very academic. But until our generation, and then we try to be, we are not we feel more free. We want to be artists. So.
But you mean when the time we growing up, actually the whole environment in a family we have a lot of huge important art collection, like many painting and calligraphy from 14th, 15th century, and we get that kind of infant, like only one thing is eternity. There's the human, the creative talent and spirit, that kind of wisdom. And then we always believe we would like dream to be the greatest creative artist. Since when we was 4 or 5 years old, my brother and we practiced calligraphy and painting and also some music. But I mean, the life is a lot of changing. Yeah.
So you started with calligraphy when you were very, very young, and when did you first start drawing to representational shapes, drawing and painting?
Yeah,
actually, we grew up from this kind of family background. But actually, for me, my first love when I was a baby is to start from music. I start from music, like classical music, and also have a very, traditional classical Chinese calligraphy training. That's from grandmother. That in a very early time. And so when we start to talking about the drawing and painting, it feels like it's pretty naturally. But we really developed a very strong passion. It's come a little bit later. So I think my brother we have a similar kind of.
Right. I remember you have a first solo performance for the music when you was age six.
Yeah, on the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and that time we also think you can be the musician. And then I always think I can be the writer. When I was in school, in the competition, I always get the first, award or something. But the end, we both all come together, become like the artists, mostly painter and sculptor. Yeah.
You talked about your family's collection of more traditional Chinese art. So you grew up really immersed in the more traditional, the more historic kinds of art in Chinese culture. How would you say that has influenced the work that you do?
I think it's many things happen later. When in the early time, we always believe one thing is the art is something very special. Will be like have most the eternity in the human history. And then when we grown up, and a lot of things happening the time during the Cultural Revolution, and then all the value of life and what we believe, everything look like changing. I mean, our family have been getting a lot of trouble because they many different reasons. But not only our family, I think it's 90% of the family in China during that time. But that is only one thing. The dream and fantasy is still there. And what we believe, and what we dream about together is art. I mean, in the reality, many things is totally changing. But only in fantasy, the art, we still have this very big area we can fulfill our dream. Yeah.
One of the things I read that was interesting, and I see a lot of it in your artwork, is there was a description of some cave paintings in one of the places where you grew up, and you saw those, and you see a lot of, I see a lot of very iconic, very primitive, interesting, compelling figures that go through a lot of your work. Did that have a very profound influence?
I think this, I feel like is one of the great advantage for us, because we grew up from this very have a strong, long history of the China for the 5,000 tradition, and then for the clay painting is one of the richest thing. We later on we feel it's like much more connected to our work from the first early development. But we didn't realize that even we born in the area, and then we study fine art for many years. We study, Western fine art, modern art today, but we try to looking for and create our own style, and then do all the research and all the study. But for many years later, and then we realize we back to our hometown again, and this kind of clay painting have such strong impact and power.
Yeah,
to
also
so
remind us when we was younger, grandma, and also we was with a father in the bowl and see all the clay painting. That's like that kind of childhood dream is bring back many of our memory, and then we was really realize the primitive art. I mean, during the first, in the beginning, the art the human being first make is very primitive, very pure feeling, but very strong and simple. And that's the most powerful language. We feel very much touched and related to what we are thinking.
I'm curious, as you say, you both studied traditional Chinese art, you studied Western art, and how did the individual styles start to manifest themselves, and then later you come together working on collaborative art? I'm just curious about an example. My drawing is different than my sister's drawing.
Right.
She's more into, let's say, pencil and sketches and things like that, and I do pen and ink. How did artists are very individual people, and now I see how you just collaborate on it. How did that happen?
Well, it's interesting. We come from a very similar family background. Okay, we grew up in the same family, and then we have a similar education. We went to the same art school. We study, modern art and study like the Western theater. And then this kind of education is very similar, but later on but the personality is still different, all right? And the fine art is like very important for the very personal thing, personal favorite. And when we beginning, that was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, the first painting we did together. And then we have to talk, to share the idea, and try to make all the harmony together, in the painting. That's how the beginning, the first step. But a few years later, we realized actually the value for the collaboration is not only the harmony, but important is how can we bring the two of us, the conflict, the advantage together.
In the early time, I think the first painting when we make together is in some very special situation. We did not plan it, just happening. We did not really realize this. The first painting we did together reflect to our life and career, being out together. We go through all the journey together in art for more than 30 years.
Is that the painting that was called The Wave?
Right, right.
Now, I haven't seen that, but if you were to describe it to someone, what would you tell them that it looks like?
This is more like the very realistic painting. It's a like the landscape seascape, and in the big ocean, and it's tiny boat in the highway, and they are tour to the for the endless, future, something. And then this is like, actually that is more like our self-portrait at that time to represent where will be our future and how can we reach our dream and goal.
And is it accurate to say that it reflects some of the chaos and the storms of the times that you had lived in with the cultural
That's the time we have
revolution?
lived in, and also the time we have imagined that will be our future. Yes.
We did not talk, we did not realize it, because when we do the painting, it's in the very special time. Even during the Cultural Revolution, we both separate and then come together in one day. We start to do the paintings in silence. We only express us, sell the feeling, like in using the painting language, paint the first painting together. And then later on, the people talking about Zhou brother, that cooperation, like the dream dialogue, just like the dream dialogue, using the painting language, we talk to myself, talk to my brother, what I feel, what I, all the, just conversation, but it's using the painting language. We like this for many, many years. And then in the beginning, when we try to find our own painting language, the style, we go through very difficult time. Yeah, we go through, with my brother, travel the whole country, everywhere. And then at the end, it's very amazing. Go through that many years until the last 8-10 years, we feel much more free. Before we was very heavy, very much connect to the human history, and then the meaning of life, man and nature, and was in the painting you can see the very strong and heavy tone, color. Yeah, the art goes through many different steps, right?
There was in doing some reading, you talk about a sort of dream dialogue, a simultaneous meditation that takes place when you're both working. What's it like to be working that a big piece like this behind you as you do that? how do you communicate? Well, I'm putting a slash of red here, but you may be doing something over here. And how does it all blend?
This is like for many years.
Hold on just a second. Okay.
It's like for many years collaboration, and then this until in the 90s, and then we feel it's a different era. It's more freer, more realize ourselves, understand ourselves better. And then this kind of collaboration is like, it's a little bit like why we're talking about dream dialogue. Dream dialogue is like the dialogue is in dream, is sometimes you have a very understand clearly a response, but sometimes it's not. It's like floating in a dream. And this kind of collaboration is exactly have this kind of feeling. Same as like some kind of like the music performance, like jazz music. They don't really know who going to start first and when they're going to stop. And then the pending for our collaboration is something like that. So we have many of the very big, important performance in the world in the last 10 years. And a lot of important performance, we have no prepare. We don't even see the location before when we actually start. So in front of the many important audience, just like the performance in the 2000, the millennium in Switzerland. When we get to the Davos, Switzerland, we have many invitations for the interview, talking about
CNN,
talking about like what you're going to do for the performance, for the painting, something. Actually, we don't know.
Because that time was the millennium, the whole world, for the opening, the ceremony, we do the opening performance first. That means the whole world, all the media, the spotlight is all there because the more than 300, the world leader is there, many, including President Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and all the political leader, business leader. And then also it's a new century. And then this summit is the most important. Summit, all the people come together, probably never happen again in the history. Because the new century, that is special moment. And then we do the opening performance, the piece called New Beginning. But before that, all the media, they try to know what we're going to paint. Because that is more like the opening for the summit. Yeah.
And what was that? I guess you're probably used to having some pressure on you to when something like this comes up, but it must have been terribly exciting to just let everything go.
Right. Well, I think we, after all the year, in even the very serious, important, moment, but we feel in the art you just free, but also you have a lot of thinking, but you don't need to know exactly what you going to happen, and just depend. I think when in that moment I think of a lot of things, but most things I just want to share with my brother, and also share what I feel, what I think, and then but of course that will relate it to the whole environment, what give me that kind of expression, and also my own life, my own feeling in that moment.
Were you happy with the way it turned out?
I think it's always a surprise for myself too, but I am very happy.
Let's talk about, you became enormously popular, it seems, in China, and were doing very, very well there. But you started exhibiting around the world, and you had an exhibition here in Chicago, and for some reason this place seemed to really click with you. You made a connection here. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, Chicago right now is our home. Yeah, we born in China, and we educate there, but we live here. In the last 20 years, a lot of activity is around the world. Half of our time every year is in Europe, become a second home. But Chicago is our home.
But we in a lifetime, we experience a lot of very, like a miracle thing, like when we in China, we go through all the difficulty. When China just started open the door, we was the leader in the contemporary art movement. We have the big traveling show start from the art museum, National Museum of Art of China, and to Art Museum Shanghai, and that movement, we like two brothers like famous overnight, like the celebrity in China, and everybody was exciting, say, "Wow, Zhou brother, Zhou brother." But when we left China, actually, in like almost a year later, and then come to United States, and then that time we was looking for some new challenge, looking for the bigger stage. But many friends of us say, "Why you left China during your in the, so successful, the situation?" But me and my brother come here, we start like everything from zero again.
Yeah, this whole thing here is really quite remarkable. And it's grown so much over the years. What did you start with here in Chicago? What was the first location here?
Well, we start from zero. We start from nothing, because we start in Chicago with speak no English, and we came here with my brother with $30, and then 2 suitcases, come to Chicago. But I think, the city give our a lot of excitement.
Right.
And then the passion of love, and then for the future, desire, just make our, continue our career in the West, in the West.
I remember like first time when we come with my brother arrived to Chicago. That time was like November, and then we was take a little walk in the lake front. The whole entire world, Chicago, everything is white because all the snow. We never see anything like this because, and then for us, the very pure white, and just like the blank canvas for us. And then we was exciting and have a lot of things we looking forward to. And then we create a painting with my brother, the big painting called Dream of Chicago. That actually is a self-portrait in that time. We believe we will make everything happening here from start, the blank canvas. We will draw the dream there. Yeah.
Chicago is a town that loves art, and how were you received here by the artistic community or by the patrons here?
What do you think?
I think it's in the beginning, me and my brother, we come to Chicago, but we did not really know how long we stay in Chicago. We just like the seed blow in the air, in the wind. We drop to Chicago. Probably we grow from here. Probably we move to New York or Europe because many of our friends there. But just happened this way, and we have start in Chicago. Later on, we spend a lot of time in Europe and in international. But we keep the studio here, and now we can say our home is Chicago. A second home like Europe, like China is the home long from in the long times ago.
As we look around, we have this marvelous studio here. You have the foundation next door, the Zhou Brothers Center over here. This whole Bridgeport neighborhood here has really taken off with what you're doing, and let's talk about that a little bit. How did the Zhou Brothers Center start?
Actually, we have the first studio here in Bridgeport, and that time we didn't know the neighborhood so well, but it's only we feel convenient, so we have a studio there. And then in 1991, we found the Zhou Brother Foundation, and the foundation, the mission is like to support some young artists and from abroad, from China or Europe, and provide the opportunity to them to bring them to the country here to work here and exhibit their work here. So then we bought the building, we bought the property to found the foundation, and then we developed our own studio here. But the Zhou B Art Center is we just started from a few years ago. Yeah. And the Zhou B Art Center I think will be one of the very exciting institutions in the city here, because it's a totally private fund, and we can, the vision is to bring much more international excitement, artistic activity to this city. Yeah.
How do you select someone who you would like to kind of take under your wing to work over at Zhou B Center, to bring them here and kind of get them started?
Well, we like to support and discover the talent. And we have a curator from the foundation, and Oscar Friedel is the one. He's more responsible for all the organized thing, to bring all the, we talk about this. We have a committee to talk about, and also the foundation, we have a jury in Europe, and which artists they are select to bring it to Chicago, and then they provide the list, and then we do the final decision.
I think we have that kind of vision, but we also believe that kind of vision can make it happening or make it big. We need to have all different kind of talent work together. That is we are very lucky to have many wonderful, very talented people work surrounding us, work for the same vision, and then that's the thing is grow very wonderfully. Yeah.
Why do you feel it's important to support new talent and to introduce them to other artists and other artistic communities through an enterprise like this? You could just have a studio and sell your own work and not really have a lot of it.
Actually, that's what we did for our whole life. But why we feel like it's important, and then we try to do something if we can, because we come from there. When we grow up, we have in many different times, we have a support from the master. They give our confidence, give our opportunity. So we know it's very important for the young generation artists to coming up. So if we can do something, I think that's we really like to do.
Your art crosses so many boundaries and so many cultures, it seems. It seems like it's probably kind of a trite expression on my part, but it seems like it's a universal language. Does it feel like that to you sometimes?
I think that remind me some recently in some different interview, they also asking some important magazine from China. They also asking Chinese artists, they really would like to know how you guys doing, how you guys can have that kind of impact and to the Western world or something. But for us, we think everything actually is the naturally development. Just like we've come from China, we have that learn a lot from the 5,000 great culture for the 5,000 years. And then we have chance to travel all around the world. We live here. All the Western culture, we learn a lot. And then for the contemporary art movement, and then everything happening in life, like the Berlin Wall down with my brother was there. We think of a lot of things of the history, and a lot of things happening, fact to life. And then actually everything we did in the art, the language, actually is from what we, show everything happening for our life. And then it's naturally come out, the language is just from our language, our own language, but our self is, we, live in the Western world, and also we come from the Eastern background. But that everything is naturally, but for the human being, actually, they understand one thing, that is the universal, the language, because the human being, they feel touch. That's the language for the eye. Some is the language for the ear, but the sculpture, painting, that kind of language for the eye, I mean, for the human being, they have the universal language, but also need to have the special. Yeah.
Everyone understands it.
Right.
Yeah. A little earlier when we were talking, you were hoping to see if you could duplicate what you've done here in Chicago, in Berlin, and perhaps back in Beijing. Tell us about that.
I think there's the Zhou Center development, we find out is very exciting and important. And then we've talked about this. We would like to create another same institution in China and also in Berlin. And then we can bring have a better exchange program, and then can also better discover all the different talent and support them.
I'm just curious. I know you work in a lot of basically traditional media, painting, sculpture. Have you done any digital art or anything like that?
Actually, we have one collaboration for the digital art. It's in the mid 90s. It's called Wind Wisdom, New Energy.
Right.
That piece video was like the permanent collection for the Centre Pompidou in Paris. So it's today you look at it again, it looked like become a classic, but at that time it's very modern. Yeah.
That's from 1993. Yeah.
I did want to ask about a specific piece of art, which was the piece that was installed in Switzerland. We were talking about that a little earlier.
Oh, there's a Ring of Life. Ring of Life is the piece is like the commission from the Switzerland, and was we make it in last year. Casting in Germany. Ring of Life is like one of the huge casting sculpture from casting aluminum, 30 feet high, and I think probably one of the biggest ring you can see in Earth. Yeah.
What were you trying to say with that piece?
The Ring of Life is represent the life of human being. It's a positive. It's always everything is back to the circle. Yeah.
I'm getting pretty much to the end of my questions. Is there anything I haven't touched upon that you'd like to bring out or feels important?
I think one thing for me and my brother, we sometimes go through, we look at it, a journey goes through 30 years, that seems like a long time. But also we feel it's just in another very exciting new beginning. Because we feel a dream is just like started, but in the other stage, but all the things happening in the past, but much more exciting for the future. We have a lot of great idea. We want to make it happen. Yeah, that's make a exciting and give a lot of energy for that. Yeah.
Well, you're both young men, as far as I'm concerned.
We feel is always feel young. Maybe after when we was 90, we may still the same, but we probably look much older. But in our heart, we feel probably stay the same.
Well, this has been very enjoyable, and I think we've got a lot of good material. I did want to ask one other thing. There was a mantra that your grandmother gave to you: to become an artist, one must possess the highest spirit. I read that. What does that mean to you?
We have a very strong influence from grandmother. Actually, she's the one to raise us. Mm-hmm. And grandmother, because she's the founder for the women's college, and the spirit for a human being, the greatest spirit is always very important. She believed that. So she believed if you want to be a great artist, you must have the very high standard in human spirit.
And she always say, a lot of things happening in the history come and go. That is very short term in the long, the human history. But only thing in the human history you can see the river, like the lot of mountain, just like the human, the creation, the wisdom. Only that kind of, great creation is still there. Is the gift and is the make the human history much more colorful and rich. Yeah.
That's what we remember about it.
Right, right.
Yeah. Well, she would be very proud of what you've done, I'm sure. This is wonderful what you've done. And thank you for sharing it with us. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.